Nancy is at Brewster Academy. Today's culprit will hack the school's computer and change your grades for $1,000. A local bank president found out about the scheme by accident when the culprit targeted his daughter through email. Email? Nancy Drew wonders. What's email? I know this book was written in 1991, but it's still super weird to see a teenager not know what email is.
Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review.
The email system is kind of weird. Instead of using email addresses, the system shows you someone's initials and computer password. So whenever you send an email to someone, they see what your password is. That is not a secure email system. Nancy tries tracking the culprit through their bank account information. That's a dead end. Literally, the culprit opened an account using a dead man's information. The dead man's floor collapses under Nancy's feet. She barely manages to avoid injury. So Nancy decides to go undercover as a tutor named Nancy Stevens. And I feel bad for her because she has to do a lot of tutoring work in between investigations. She meets the headmaster, a young hotshot named Walter Friedbinder. Yes, Fried Binder, like someone took a binder and set it on fire. The assistant headmaster is Phyllis Hathaway, who's very angry because she should have gotten the promotion. Phyllis takes a very suspicious phone call about harming Friedbinder while getting lots of money. Nancy really should have followed up on that phone call instead of just ignoring it. Hathaway also is suspicious because she helped design the school's computer system. Speaking of which, here's another terrible security flaw. Your password is your initials plus whatever number profile you are. So if Nancy's the fourth person in the system, her password's ND4. You could easily hack anyone's password just by guessing their number. One of Nancy's tutoring students is the handsome Victor Paredes. He flirts with her a lot, and he brags he's smart enough to hack the school's computers. He demonstrates these skills by changing Friedbinder's biography to something utterly ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as the name Friedbinder. Another suspect is the head of the newspaper, Randy Peter. She hides her computer screen pretty darn fast whenever Nancy enters the room. To be honest, I do the exact same thing when somebody else looks at my computer screen. I don't want them to see my stupid, unfinished jokes. Victor takes Nancy out for burgers, where she meets Kim Forster, Victor's angry ex. Victor jokes she got a deed because she thinks she owns him. When Victor asks Nancy out to the movies, she tells him about her boyfriend, Ned. Victor jokingly looks around for Ned before saying, "Hey, Ned's not here, so Nancy can totally date Victor." Yeah, that's not how it works, Victor. Our last suspect is Dana Mccauley, the college's IT person. She explains if you refuse an email, you can see what terminal it was sent from. Nancy tries this out when the culprit sends her a threatening email. It was sent from Terminal 29, Randy's computer. Nancy becomes double suspicious of Randy when she uses Nancy's real name. Nancy confronts Randy about this 30 pages later. Randy rolls her eyes because, duh, of course she knows who Nancy Drew is. Nancy's detective work has been headline news dozens of times. Nancy snoops in Hathaway's office. She almost gets caught and she steals the password log. She spends a lot of time going through everyone's computer files, but she doesn't find anything incriminating. To be fair, Nancy didn't know what email was yesterday, so it's unlikely she's good enough with computers to find any evidence that way. Friedbinder gets an anonymous note which accuses Victor and Nancy of being the culprits. Victor is sure that Kim wrote the note to frame them. The bank calls Nancy, saying someone just took money out of the culprit's account. Good thing Nancy just happened to be by a phone when this happened. She rushes to the ATM and finds Kim in disguise. Nancy confronts Kim, who cries bitterly. She confesses the culprit is using her as an intermediary. She handles the bank account according to coded instructions. She's told to take out all the money and put it in an envelope in an empty faculty mailbox. Nancy stakes out the faculty mailbox area, but she's distracted by Mccauley, Friedbinder, and Hathaway. By the time they're gone, the money has disappeared from the box. Well, that settles it. The culprit's got to be one of those three, right? are just a random teacher who saw a bunch of money and decided, hey, I'm stealing it. I guess the author disagrees that this scene incriminates the teachers because the book continues to throw suspicion on Victor and Randy. Victor's flirting makes Nancy laugh, and she decides to double-check everyone's grades against the records that are in the locked file room. The culprit starts a fire when she's inside. Nancy is forced to climb a bookcase to reach the manual valve for the sprinkler system. Nancy gets another email from the culprit, sent from Terminal 29. Victor uses his hacking skills to determine the email really came from Hathaway's office. Right on cue, Nancy sees Hathaway give a ton of money to Mccauley. It's later explained that Hathaway and Mccauley are planning to go into business together, hence the secret money exchanges and the overall air of secrecy. In the one-chapter finale, Nancy sees lights in the school offices. She goes there and discovers Friedbinder is the culprit. He's got a list of the victims and the payouts. Friedbinder tries to cover his tracks by reformatting the computer. This plan fails, because the computer system automatically copies all its contents into a high-capacity tape every night. That copy will prove Friedbinder is guilty. At this point, Friedbinder confesses. Victor kisses Nancy goodbye, saying he doesn't want her to leave. She reminds him that she has a boyfriend. Again, he jokingly pretends to look for Ned before promising he's gonna keep trying for Nancy. He doesn't appear in any books after this one, so he's lying about that. The end. Post-book follow-up. This book is fine, but the ending is not very good. The culprit confrontation was particularly low stakes. Nancy doesn't accuse Friedbinder until the scene's almost over, and she does little to stop him. It's actually the computer people who stop him with their automatic backups. If Nancy hadn't been there, they would have stopped him anyway. It's definitely a change from the usual ending to this series, where the angry culprit confesses their plot in detail before trying to kill Nancy in a big cliffhanger. Yeah, figuring out who the culprit is and capturing them all in one chapter, usually that's 2 or 3 chapters, right? I had some trouble keeping track of the characters because the book went back and forth between referring to them by first name and last name. I also confused Hathaway with Friedbinder's secretary, who's almost always there at the same time Hathaway is. Victor was an entertaining character, even if I didn't like seeing Nancy fall so easily for his flirtations, and he's kind of a creep at the end. I liked Randy, although she barely appears. The computer stuff's pretty good, even if it's outdated. Overall, I'd say this is like the previous book. I liked it, but it's pretty generic and by the books for this series. The culprit's lack of effort is out of place, though. Normally, the culprit tries to kill her every other chapter, not just once. Now I want to go back and give the last book a higher score, because it is action-packed compared to this one. I give Nancy Drew Files number 62, Easy Marks, a 5 out of 10.